do any slides or do any preaching. We want you guys to get the benefit out of this by putting yourself into the hot seat for a few minutes, just answering some of the interview questions like, tell me about yourself, why should we hire you, what is your greatest weakness, and other questions. So, before we do that, I would like just to ask you guys if you have any questions specifically related to interviews that we can help you with. Some of your biggest challenges, what is happening for you guys. So feel free to first ask some questions, and then whoever is brave enough to, put their camera on and, sit on that hot seat for a few minutes. That's definitely not going to be easy, but I'm sure, the benefit out of it will be a lot for you. The insight that you'll get from the panel will be amazing to help you again uncover what's holding you back. So I'll just pause here and see if you guys have questions. Please raise your hand or unmute to ask whatever questions specifically related to interviews. We have um, lots of other themes, resumes and other themes. But today I want to focus on interview, please, if you don't mind. So we'll try to avoid other questions related to resume and other topics, if you don't mind. Any questions? If you guys are here, I'm sure there is something that you're looking forward to get. So it's your time to ask.
Yeah, sure. I'll go first.
Yeah, please. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Richard. I've been in the digital marketing space mostly as a web developer for the past 15 years. With the past 8 years leading teams, development teams, and also doing project management. So dealing with clients and stakeholders, both internal, external. Um, my question is, I feel like I've had maybe almost a dozen or so interviews. I feel like I do very well at them, but I'm just not getting that offer. Just not getting that, a callback or second interview. Um, I'm looking for more PM stuff, and I know I'm maybe a bit lacking in that area, or I need to get my PMP. But I guess, yeah, I'm trying to formulate a question here, but is it potentially just the market that we're in right now that even after a good interview, we're still not getting callback?
Okay. So if you're okay, Richard, if you're okay that we ask you a few more questions to again help you get benefit out of this discussion. So I'll
Mhm.
maybe ask you a few questions and then I'll pass it on also to my colleagues to help you here. So can you explain, what stage of the interview are you getting no call back afterwards? And can you also explain a little bit of why did you feel that it went well, and what were the most questions that you were asked, for example, and how did you manage those questions? And again, I know that this is a lot for you to answer, so let's take it step by step. Let's start with which stage are you getting blocked? First
Yeah,
interview,
so
second, or third?
I'm not even reaching second interview at this point. So after the interview, I sent a thank you almost immediately, same day or the day after, um, and then sometimes I'll either follow up maybe 3 days later. Sometimes I'll follow up about a week later just to see how if they've made it. Not necessarily made a decision, but just say, hey, I'm still interested. Whatever processes you have, that's fine. Just curious to know if you have an update, kind of thing. Even if, and I explicitly say too, if you have no update, that's fine. That's an update.
Awesome. And is this like a screening interview that you get ghosted afterwards, or?
So a mix. So a mix of, I guess half my interviews have been mostly with HR or like pre-screening, or recruiter, um, and the other half is like the actual, um, I guess maybe the final person or the person.
The hiring manager.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, Coach Modi, do you have more questions? I again can continue to ask, but Okay, so go ahead, Coach Mo.
No, no, just on that half and half. So if we just quantify more, like let's say you got 10 interviews, you're saying that first interview, let's say five of them could be with the screening, I would say HR, and then five with the technical manager, or it's more like 7 and 2.
It's about half. It's about, yeah.
Okay, okay, thank you.
And the HR, are they recruiters outside of this company or are they recruiters inside the same company that you're applying for?
Mostly inside.
Okay, okay, that's good. Samuel, go ahead. I think you have some questions or some insights.
Yeah, thank you very much. So, I would say, Richard, first of all, since you are getting the interview, that's 100% a confirmation that you are qualified. So your skills, education, and experience is what the HR is looking for. And they are very impressed with your resume. That's why they called you for the interview. Let me tell you a secret. HR is very, very lazy. They don't want to look at 100 resumes and select the best person. They want only to look at 3 to 5 resumes and end up with the 3 interviews that getting one person successful. So they
Hmm.
are very motivated to say, like, I am an HR, and every time I meet with one person, I will tell the manager, he is good. He's impressive. Go ahead, hire him. Because I want to finish this task from my list. I want to just tick it. Okay, always the manager is trying to get more interviews. So you saying I did a good interview based on what? This is what we need actually to evaluate because look, HR always, well, the HR panel in the interview, they will do their best to give you the poker face without giving you any impression if you are being selected or not. If they give any impression, that means they are not so good doing their job. So you should be leaving the interview with a neutral impression.
Mm. Okay.
You and they will always say you're doing great, great answer, wonderful added, thank you for sharing your experience. They will always do that because they don't want to give you extra stress. We understand that the interview is already a stressful exercise, so they don't give any impression for that. However, in the HR side, they are the one who's evaluating your answers. And if you did a good interview, they will definitely ask you for the second interview. I will say you probably have answered some of the questions not in the way that expected by the panel.
Hmm.
Or the other option, maybe someone else who answered in a better way that gave them a higher level of score. So HR at the end is trying to select the highest score based on the interviews. Definitely, interview preparation is a big thing, and it should be done by like experienced person who's going to prepare you for the interview. That is very, very important. So you can practice before going to the interview, get to expect all the questions. You don't have time in the interview to think about answers. You should be well prepared going there to directly answer in a structured way.
Hmm. So I do feel like I prepare well for interviews. So I spend maybe 3 to 4 hours of prep. I also use ChatGPT to come up with kind of questions, situational questions, not necessarily technical question. And I write down notes and answers and things like that. Um, and so I do a lot of prep. And to answer your question, like how I get a sense of if it went well. There's a couple of key things, but one is sometimes at the beginning of the interview, the person is very, like you said, kind of poker face, just very neutral, right? But by the end of it, we're smiling, we're talking just regular kind of banter, getting to know one another, and just getting to know about the company, the position, and things like that. And by the end of it, they have a smile, or they're laughing a little bit, or we're laughing a little bit together. So that's one piece, and then the second piece is I always try to like kind of stand out during the interview a little bit by just giving like a little piece or little nugget of detail that I've found or come across. So one example of that is this one company had a video on their website, and I noticed like a name tag of someone on the video, and it was the same last name of one of the person that I was interviewing with. And so I mentioned that, and they said, "Oh wow, you caught like a little detail in a video." And yes, that's my spouse. They were in the video, kind of thing. So again, little things like that, I try to stand out, right, to make an impact above the rest. Just a little detail, whether it's related to the role of the position or not, just something little, right? Or even another example is picking apart someone's website, because I do a lot of web development. So I'll make a little comment or feedback about the website.
Yeah. So Richard, if you don't mind, and again, I hope this is not putting you on the spot here. If you can answer, tell me about yourself in your own way. Now, again, based on one of those positions, and then if you're okay to get feedback live here on your answer. So take
Yeah.
your time if you want to prep for a few seconds and go for it.
Yeah. Well, I already have something prepped. And kind of what I use for the interview process. So when people ask about me, I'll say that, so my background is in web development. I began my career as a coder developer. And like I mentioned, eventually I'd led teams, so development teams, went into project management, managing clients, projects, all within digital marketing, all within agencies. I've helped small businesses get into e-com, especially during COVID. In my most recent role, I contributed to a UI UX refresh. And within that same team, together we had an 8% growth in leads year over year. For me, I love everything digital marketing, all aspects of it, not just the web and technical side. I love finding ways to improve efficiency internally as well. So using AI, I think, is a huge thing for processes internally, because when we achieve our goals, we can get our customers to achieve their goals as well. And we can give them the best experience. We can give their customers the best experience and provide them with the best strategies and possible results for their digital marketing goals. And beyond that, I really love seeing customers grow and succeed. Like I said, I launched many e-com sites during COVID and saw these medium to small businesses kind of stay afloat, survive, and thrive. And it was great to be a part of that collaboration, part of that team behind that growth.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. Tell me about yourself. So if you're open again, we'll give you some feedback. I'll maybe start real quick about what I know. So first of all, you've done a great job in positioning yourself and as an expert in that field that you mentioned. I think what was missing is more numbers in your pitch. You just said 8%. That's the only number that I heard in the whole pitch, which unfortunately weaken every statement that you say. Like when you say many or multiple or several or those kind of words, it weakens your pitch somehow. But if you become more specific, let's say you've done 8 web designs or 5 agencies, 10% success, those numbers will add a lot of impact and weight to your statement and will make it much more effective. I think again, the other part of this is focus on your achievement. What exactly were the results of your impact with those companies aligned to the role that you're trying to land? So it has to be aligned to the role that you're trying to land, not achievements and that is not aligned. If it's achievement that is not aligned, that doesn't make sense, doesn't really work. The third piece I think that you missed is uh, matching the other party. Like why are you excited for this role? So this should be your last point or the last, let's say, phase of closing your pitch. Why are you excited to work for this company? I've been following you guys for some time. I've seen your products, I've seen your website, I've seen your publications or marketing, and I was impressed about just like you said, those small details that you've noticed here and there that would make them feel, oh, this guy is really knows us, really like us. It's a marriage. It's a marriage between you and them because it's a long-term relationship. So you'll spend more time at work more than you spend at home. I'll pause here, give a chance to my colleagues here to also give you some of their insights and see like whoever wants to jump in. Coach Mo, do you want to give your
Neil,
feedback? Yeah, please go ahead.
Neil, go ahead, Neil. Neil, do you have any feedback?
Yeah, sorry, you were applying for digital marketing jobs, or you were applying for project management jobs? I'll just
Kind of like both. So project management within digital marketing agencies.
Oh, okay. So, okay, I just wasn't sure because I wasn't sure if you were promoting the project you managed or I don't have a lot to say on this because I'm not 100% sure where, I mean, I agree with the numbers part for sure. That's incredibly important when you're in kind of a sales role. And I guess in this case, it does too. I'm not sure I got the impression that you were the project management part of it. Like I get the part that you built the stuff. I'm just not sure I clearly understood the project management aspects of it. So I'm not, that may be what they're listening for, or words like I ran teams, these many people in the teams, I coordinated this while I was working, because you were doing everything. You sounded like you were doing literally everything too. That's the kind of guy you are, so that's great. But at the same time, I think they were looking for very specific project management aspects as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Thanks.
Cool. Coach Mo, do you have
Yeah,
anything?
sure. I'll just touch on a couple on from the beginning. Richard, you had a question on, since you're doing web development and in the project management, you asked whether I should go. You had a question in your head whether should I go for a PMP or is it the market? And Samer kind of answered on the PMP. In my opinion, if you're getting called back, you don't need the PMP because otherwise they would have considered you out already. But the fact that they're calling you, they see that your qualifications is sufficient. A PMP could be an extra, but as it is right now, it's not the PMP thing, right? And then the markets you talked about, or whether it's the market. So it's not the market because there is a job online and you're called to this job as somebody else takes the job, not you as of yet. Okay, so there's nothing wrong with the market either. Now, you also said your interviews split between behavior and technical. So even if the HR individual is not a tech savvy or doesn't know the details of the job, and you go talk to the technical person and showcase your technical abilities, also that is not flying. So my guess here on 2 is that there's somehow the connection on the call or the bond between you and the other, or the bridge between two human beings, is not happening. We are very good at describing who Richard and Mo is as a machine. The machine that does the work even if we're sleeping can still do web development, can still do the stuff. But the human aspect or the human connection, as you were saying, said earlier, it's getting postponed all the way to the end when they finally relax and smile and all this stuff, right? So what can we say up front? And that's back tying to what Ahmed is saying and Neil is saying. How can we position ourselves up front so that bridge is built early on in the interview and the interview turns into a dialogue rather than an interrogation style? Do you know this? Do you know that? So what do you think the beginning of the interview is for you? Is it more like it starts as an interrogative style? Do you know this? Have you done this? Have you done this? And then finally at the end, the human connection happens? Does it?
No. So I do try to kind of make that connection up front.
Okay.
Get a sense of like who they are, where they're from, very regular kind of banter, whether, kids or family, little things like that. Just to, kind of make that quick connection.
At the very beginning.
Yeah.
Okay. Now,
but maybe I just need to, I don't know, reinforce it or just emphasize it a little bit more to.
And I'll give you a tool that will make a difference for you. Have you ever recorded that interview for yourself for personal reasons and heard yourself speaking after?
No, haven't recorded myself, but I have recorded videos to apply for jobs and kind of talk through some of the things that I've talked through already.
Okay, here's the thing. We now do the interviews mostly online, right? Like we're having this discussion now. So you can either use your phone, you speak on a loudspeaker, you and them, and hear the dialogue by using your phone to record the conversation, or you can use the what is it called, snippet or something, and take the entire video of the screen. In both ways, what we're trying to do is for yourself here. There's an inherent value when we hear ourselves speak, because when we speak, my way of speaking now, or however I perceive myself delivering to you the message, is completely different from how you get this message. So when I hear myself speaking, I tend to, like, I do that with my coaches, and when I coach them, I tell them record, and I will give you my feedback on the recording. When they come back to me and say, have you heard yourself? They're already smiling. I say, why are you smiling or laughing? He said, because we had no clue we were saying all this stuff that we thought everything was like, we were like good and everything is dandy and all this stuff. But I noticed, I said, do you notice here how you did not really answer the question and you went in circles, right? And then you drop them down the slide, right? The viral slide, and then you didn't answer the question. Yes, I noticed that. I said, okay, then that's a good opportunity for you to discover where things are different, and then you start closing it for yourself.
That's good feedback. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay, awesome. I think this gives you a little bit of feedback, Richard. Again, I don't want to put you more on this hot seat unless you're okay to stay here. So again, if you're okay, then I'll ask you another question. Is that
I'm good. Yep.
Okay.
Ahmed, can I say before something really quick before you ask the question on the hot seat and stressful, because I heard that and we all say that, and I told you, like, a lot of stuff I do is in emotional intelligence and human development. What if it's not a hot seat? What if it's not stressful? Like, why is it a hot seat and why is it stressful? I want to address that, right?
Good
Okay,
point.
and my thinking when we say it's stressful and hot seat is because you're attached to a result. When you go in, you really, really want the job. So you're already stressful and your body condition is like, I need this job, I want this job. So you're ready before getting into the interview, you have stressed yourself out. But what if the interview is not about getting a job and the interview is about exploring a match? Are we a match together? Let's have a discussion. Let's have a conversation. Are we a match together? Then if we're a match together, maybe a job falls in place naturally. And if we're not, good luck for you, good luck for me. You'll keep looking for your match. I will keep looking for my match. This way, it doesn't occur like, they have to hire me and I have to say the right thing. And if I don't, I won't be able to do this and I won't be able to pay my bills and I won't be able. And then you go into the interview already, you shot yourself in the foot before you even step into the interview. Okay, so that with Ahmed being said, like, hot seat and all this stuff, let's now reset that into the next question where you are not thinking, or you're not now you're you look like what? You look like you're put on the spot. So now all of a sudden some 15 ears are listening to me, right? So now I'm gonna stress myself out again, and I'll talk out of stress. But just get rid of that, put it to the side, acknowledge that it exists, and say, listen, I am here to explore, to share my heart and explore what other people are thinking. And it goes however it goes. Make sense?
Yeah, I like that. And I agree with that perspective. And I definitely try to approach my interviews like that. Just it's all about communication and collaboration. And that's the digital marketing world, really, right? It's all about collaboration and communication. So I really try and go to interviews as with that mindset of like just trying to find a match, just having a conversation, try to keep it low stress. I think for me the stressful part is just it's been a while since I've been out of a working role, so it's just more home stresses than actual interview stresses.
And it will translate whether you like it or not. So so try to find an empowering story, because the more you stay longer without a job, the more you will be thinking is like, when is it coming? When is it coming? And the employer on the other side does not really see that. What they see is maybe Richard is an amazing person, but there's this something I'm getting through his communication, which is your stress, subconscious. But I don't know. He's really good, but I don't know. It's like I didn't feel. And let's go to the next person, because that's your stress coming out, but without you thinking it comes out. It does come out in your nuances of your voice and your body language and all the stuff. So I don't need you to speak to know whether you're stressed or not.
Yeah, and I guess the recording would help with that if I see myself.
Absolutely.
And observe.
Absolutely. Sorry, Ahmed. I
No, no,
wanted to
no.
clear that
This is
for other people on the call, right? So that next questions are smoother.
no, this is a great point, Coach Moan. I love your approach. Definitely, that's what everybody should do. Again, it's definitely hard, but you definitely need to show that, because that's what confidence will help you and the interviewer to get that match and get an easy decision to hire you. I see Samer has his hand raised. Samer, do you have any follow-up before I ask the question?
Sure. If you have another question, we will move on, or I can maybe give more reflect to Richard as
Yeah,
you.
if you have some reflections, go ahead.
Okay, so Richard, I would definitely say that obviously you are getting a very good impression during the interview, and you are focusing on impressing the interviewers with your attention to details, impressive answers, and high level of analytical skills. However, look, I want to tell you, like interview is a mix of scoring mechanism collection. So there is a standard questions like tell me about yourself, what's your expectation, what's your weakness. All these questions is expected, and it's a standard question. There's another level of questions called situational questions, and I know that you have said that you are really preparing well for the interview. But I want to give you this hint. If you don't know the difference between situational questions or behavioral questions or hypothetical questions or analytical questions, if you don't know the difference between these four, then you are not really preparing well for the interview, because you need to know what type of question being asked and how are you going to best answer these questions. In the interview itself, there is a panel who's going to give you scores. And in these scores, there's a standard questions they will score you for, and there's like 5 or 10 points for impressing them. So don't focus only on the 10 points, but make sure you are harvesting the other 90 points. That is very important so you can score the highest. At the end, after the interview, the panel will forget about the people, will forget about their answers, and they will have in front of them only scoring sheets. And they will be looking at the scores, selecting the highest score for the job offer. So
Well,
make sure that you are really scoring. Like your attitude from the first moment is how to collect more points. And this is the same way when I am sitting and teaching the hiring managers how to score the interviewee. The same way should be known by the interviewee, so they come in the interview in the attitude of collecting points. So they know what kind of evidences to say that will give you the points. The same way the interviewers are sitting there waiting for to hear these evidences to give you the points. And this is by aligning these two is like when you are going for an exam in the past days, and before going to the exam, you're asking for the past year's questions. And by that, you will be able even to answer better and score higher. I really wish you all the best. Preparation is essential. And I remember a hint Mr. Ahmed told me earlier. When I met Mr. Ahmed for the first time, I told him I am doing my accounting by myself. And he said, Samer, pay an accountant because he's an expert and he will know some tricks that you will never know that will save you more money. So you are not an HR expert. And by preparing by yourself, you might be missing things that you don't know. And that will make a big difference at the end. Sometimes same question will be asked in the interview. You are answering in a wrong level sometimes. So if it's targeting customer service or conflict management or analytical skills or communication. So if you answer in a lower level, and that maybe you are very strong in presenting yourself in the past. Now you have been out of the job market since sometimes, and you are coming back to present yourself in the same level of communication method that you were using 5 or 6 years back. That will position you in a 5, 6 years back, not in the same level that you deserve today. Tell me about yourself is a question that is answered by entry level person or a specialist or a leader or a minister indifferently. It's the same question, but they answer it differently. It showed different level of competencies.
makes sense. I appreciate that. And you said the scoring mechanisms and some of the questions. You said, I'm just taking notes, and I think I missed a bit, but situational was one, behavioral question is another. And what were the other
Hypothetical.
two? Hypothetical. That's what I'm missing.
Yeah, and analytical and knowledge questions. So these are different type of questions. You should be aware of these different level of questions so you can answer them rightly. And yeah, interviewers, they know when they're asking the question, this is the type they are targeting, and they are waiting for certain method of answering these. Unfortunately, HR don't know about your industry, so they are testing you in area that doesn't have any relation to IT.
Yeah.
So, but at this level, you should be able to speak their language, so you get an advantage from their existence. Later, maybe you don't need to speak with HR anymore. But
Yeah.
just pass them until you reach the right level of meeting the technical managers.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
Awesome. Thank you, Samer. A great point. So, Richard, if you're ready for the next question, let's do that together. And again, if you guys, any one of you, have the same courage as Richard, and again, kudos to you, Richard, for being in this seat. I know this is definitely not a comfortable seat, being in front of everybody and sharing some answers, but definitely that's how you grow, that's how you learn. So thank you so much for doing this. So my next question to you is, why should we hire you?
Why you should hire me? I think I'm a great fit for the position. I have the experience, the knowledge, the expertise, everything that you're looking for in a candidate, everything that's listed on the job posting. But beyond that, I'm just a easygoing, relaxed, kind of chill guy. I get along with everybody, get along with a lot of people. And I know that everything is kind of based on collaboration, teamwork, and communication. That's what I try to emulate and promote as much as I can. Yeah, I'm not sure what else.
Okay.
I definitely need to work on that one.
100%, yes. And again, those are basic questions. It's you may not get the same question, but you definitely need to answer this question somehow during the interview. I'll maybe give Coach Mo the chance to share his feedback first, because I know, sometimes I give the feedback that already Coach Mo can give. So please go ahead, Coach Mo.
No, I sometimes these questions are like, again, and Sam will know these questions are cliche, but then you can't have a right or wrong answer. Sometimes I will even that question is particularly, I have the intention, if I'm asked that question, is to joke around with it, right? Because if somebody asks me why do we hire you, I will say, because you're hiring. That's why I'm here. Right. So I'll try to spin some sort of humor to that. But again, I'll not answer the question, because there are some questions and there is no right and wrong questions. But you can definitely leverage the difference you want to make for them, right? And speak to the difference you want to make on them. So again, like in both questions, Richard, you're saying I, right? Like try to answer from their world. Like, for example, why would you hire me? Because I feel that you're about to undertake you're about to. It seemed from the job description you're about to take an ambitious undertaking, and I want to make a difference in such and such and such, and I have made a difference for other people like that, and I would love to contribute my expertise to you, and blah blah. So talk from that future that you guys are going to align with in the future, versus a me conversation or my needs conversation. That's the underlying trick of the question. So I always address these questions and say, what is the trick in the question, not the answer of the question, because the questions you have, like I have a list personally of 100 questions of interviews. Now, what are we going to do? You said I prepared for the interview 3 to 4 hours. Right now, even if I prepare 3 to 4 hours, how do I know the future? How do I know how the interview is going to go? And if I have a list of 100 questions, what do? I'm going to spend 20 hours perfecting answers for 100 questions. And which one of the questions is going to be answered? I don't know. So I would rather be in the moment with people. Like, for example, they ask this question. If I joke about this question and turn it around and connect with them, believe it or not, they don't give two rats about the answer. As long as the bond happened, they'll let you go. Like, I saw some interviews. I sat personally as an interviewer before on it. The guy was perfect. I sent him to my project manager. I was hiring for a technical staff. It was technically amazing. He went to the project manager. The project manager came to me and said, "I'm not hiring him." I said, "But he's a perfect fit." He said, "Oh, like, do you see how he was wearing his suit and the tie was loose?" I was like, "You refused him because his tie was loose, right?" The guy that you said you accepted him and you like him came to the interview with a short sleeve shirt, not even a suit, not even a tie. So I want to just give you an example that human beings judge like emotionally, not practically, right?
And how prevalent would you say that is? People who kind of judge based on some of those minor details that aren't very relevant to the actual position or the role. So like you said, different shirt or how they look. How prevalent is that
It's
judgment
an
in the
excuse.
workplace? Yeah.
That's an excuse. Something didn't work in their connection together, so he picked on an excuse for him. Right?
Okay.
Because this guy, when he was come dressed and he was talking, he was very confident, right? With me, I was looking at his technical skills. Maybe when he went to the project manager, he rubbed the wrong way because he said something arrogantly that the project manager thought he's higher than him. So he was waiting for any chance to slide him out, right? So he picked on anything. It's the same way like when people come to Canada and people tell them, "You don't have the Canadian experience." What does a Canadian experience mean? If I work in Oracle in Egypt or Saudi Arabia and they have the same version that you're implementing in your system, why is Saudi Arabia versus Canada technically a difference? But if we didn't connect because the cultures are not matching in a conversation, and I want to find an excuse to refuse you, I say, "You were so nice and so good, but just you don't have the Canadian experience." Bullshit. I'm sorry for my line. Excuse my French, right? But there's a lot of bullshit that happens on interviews, right?
Neil, go ahead. I think you have some feedback here.
Mo brought up a lot of really good points here. Just on that, the Canadian experience versus whatever, it's got little to do with the tech. It's got way more to do with the market itself. I've worked in Microsoft, big organizations where we bring people in from overseas and they struggle because they come in expecting it to behave, the customers and everybody to behave exactly the same way they're used to, and they lose their confidence pretty quickly because they didn't bother to really take time to research the market ahead of time, so they were prepared. And that's all it really is being prepared. In terms of so when you're giving the, why should I hire you? Most absolutely correct. You got to understand, although most of these questions that I've noticed come out of the US, these all sort of all this interview stuff, everything. And the Americans are very different from Canadians. We don't like to brag. We stay very humble. Whenever you work for a big American company, they want you to do performance reviews. It's all I, me, even though you work on a team. They're real. And we are so uncomfortable with that. Americans are not. And so what they're expecting is for you to say, why should I hire you? Is what are you going to do? Exactly what most of, what are you going to do for me? So I got hired to different companies because I brought experience in Oracle that other people didn't have. I went to VMware because I had big enterprise experience working with big systems that they didn't have. Their guys weren't quite as experienced at. So it was kind of what they were looking for. So your experience doing maybe multiple different kinds of projects, working with multiple different kinds of teams, so maybe you had to formulate teams on the run quickly for a different project, whereas they work with solid teams that are the same all the time. You're very adaptable around that, and you can adapt to the teams. They're not looking for somebody I've got a slot right here, I'm just going to fill it. They're looking for that extra piece. So things like when you're a team lead in particular, if you're not necessarily the manager, you're looking to be able to take a look at if you've got a skill around being really empathetic and watching out for people, making sure they're all running at their best. If you can pick people quickly and see where there might be an issue and you have the ability to bring them up quickly, these kinds of things, they want all their people to be successful. So I would focus a lot of look at the job description, think about the interviews you've had and what you've done, because you've been in a different situation with different ways of being successful. And now successful ways of doing things are new ideas that they want to see. They don't want to see old ideas. They've got all those. They want to see that you're thinking, hey, I got this, we did this, and I did this, and I think it might work there. And I'd like to see opportunities where it generated this and that and these results, positive results. Being enthusiastic about stuff like that, they get pretty excited about it. So,
That makes sense. Yeah.
because then you're different than everybody else. Everybody else is just saying, I'm a great guy. I have these skills in Python, or I have these skills here. Okay, well, everybody does, but you go, well, no, I built stuff that does this, and I work with these people here, and we can broaden out or look to do this. And the fact that you're really thinking about making their business better is what really gels people. And you're enthusiastic. That always helps too. So that's it.
Excellent.
Thanks. Richard, do you have any follow-ups? I also have some feedback to you, but I just want to see if you have any follow-ups on what Neil or Coach Mo shared.
No, not necessarily. Just taking notes.
Okay,
Really
cool.
appreciate the feedback.
Oh, thank you so much for doing this. This is really a good example for all of us, and we're all learning here. So thank you so much for doing this. So for the question of why should we hire you, I normally try to address this in the manner that, first of all, do you understand the challenge or the problem the company is trying to solve from this hiring or not? That's the first thing that they are looking for an answer from you. First of all, acknowledge the problem they are trying to solve through hiring you to that role. So like Coach Mo mentioned, again, you're uptaking, a major change or a major transformation or a major project or whatever that is coming, and then accordingly show what have you done before that proves you've been in the same situation and you're able to solve similar problems like that one that they are looking for. That's what I normally try to do in answering that question. And again, when you add numbers in your answers, this will always feel like this is more powerful, this is more impactful, and nobody could copy and paste it. Nobody can say it's vague, because when you say numbers, this means you've done this. Even again, if you don't remember all the numbers accurately, that's fine. Again, nobody will go back to your previous employer, ask, is it 7 or 10 or 11 or 12? Nobody will do that. So don't make this hard to yourself, and just again put some numbers that make sense, so that if I challenge you during the interview, oh, you said 10, isn't 10 a lot maybe for this kind of role? And if you couldn't answer why 10 is chosen, then that's a different story, and a different impression that you either gain or lose. So uh, definitely put the relationship, treat job search, treat interview like dating or marriage, because it is. You have to always, Coach Mo share this as it's emotional intelligence. You need to, even if you don't take the role, that person should be your friend, or should be at least someone who will be looking for you later on to connect with and speak with, because that's how you will make that connection. We sometimes focus on the technical piece. We focus too much on the robotics and the machines, and we ignore the human part of it, which is definitely not going to work. Companies will hire you first as a human, not because you're able to do machines or what you've been doing before. If they don't like you as a person, it's hard for them to work with you. And I hope this help you, Richard. And if you have any follow-ups before I go to Farouk, please go ahead.
No, nothing. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi,
No,
thank you for the interview. Basically, my name is Farooq Sajjad. I live in the Pakistan. Basically, I am a senior software engineer with over 7 years of experience in web development. And right now, I have done some projects in the Telex Online Private Limited. And my skills are in the Node.js, React.js, and Vue.js. And I have few questions regarding your answer regarding your question. Basically, why should hire you? If two candidates answer the valid questions, answer the valid, but how is to tackle the HR to negotiate and uh, consider the candidate?
Okay, so if I understand your question clearly, and again, I'm just going to restate it just to make sure don't mess it up. So you're saying that if two candidates have good answers, how does HR consider A versus B in terms of selection? Is that your question?
Yes, yes, this is my question.
Okay, Samer, do you want to take that?
Sure. Let me start by asking Farouk, are you in, where do you live now? Are you in Pakistan?
Yes, I live in Pakistan.
Okay, congratulations, you have been screened out of the job because you don't have work eligibility in the market, right?
Yes, basically, this is not correct. Lot of people are doing remotely jobs from the Pakistan or various countries, and I completed 16 projects on the Upwork. Few clients are belong from the USA on my Upwork profile.
Very good. So I always
Correct.
remember Neil is telling me, I don't know that HR is that better. And yes, they are very better because in the HR for employment, we are looking for people who have a work eligibility. And work eligibility is something that we need to connect with the security insurance number or the taxation number so we can pay through corporations and deducts from our expenses as a corporation, the employee salaries. If you are going to target your employment through self-employment or tendering or something else, that is going to be through procurement. It's not through HR. So HR is not going to tackle the application as an employee, but you need to target through procurement. Let me try to answer your other question, assuming that you have a work eligibility. When you have a work eligibility and you've been asked same question, and that's the standard for HR to assure fairness and non-biased questions. So we need to ask the same questions to all candidates, and then each question is kind of evaluated separately. So we are looking in the answer for, first of all, the structure of your answer, the way you tackle and analyze the question. Did you catch the competency that we are looking for? And then in your answer, what are the evidences that you mentioned? And let's say hypothetically, like every evidence, you get 1 point. So we are kind of collecting these evidences, writing them, and giving you points. Two persons answering the same question, one person will score 18, one other person will score 17. And then we have another 4 or 5 questions in the interview. We kind of sum all the points and end up with one high score. So it's not about one question, but it's the score, the total score that you did in the interview. The highest person who gets the highest score is the person who will get the job offer. Usually in the scoring mechanism, every two person who scores similar amount of points, let's say 90 and 91. So both of them, if the difference between the two scores is 5% margin, they are considered equal. So that's something to give some comfortable that, oh, it's not only about 1 point. If the difference between the two person is only 5% scoring, it's considered the same. And at the end, it's only summing all the points and offering the highest person. That's to assure fairness because HR is under auditing always. And many times people outside who competing for job, they will complain, why you hired that person? I am more qualified than him. But we are not looking at the qualification at this level. We are looking at the scores. And then the auditor will come and we will show them all the scoring mechanism, the answered questions, the evidence presented, and how we sum all this. And then they will say, oh, it was correct. Because HR had been practicing this since sometimes, and we are making sure that we are very fair. And that's why in the interviews, there's always an HR person to assure fairness and right calculation of points points. In case we got audited, we have a clear answer to the ministry saying, oh, we are safe. We have done our job without any bias and discrimination.
Right.
Thank you. Neil, I think you had your hand raised. Oh, no?
Yeah,
Coach
I
Mo?
just you'd mentioned, I think you're asking if you gave a response to the why should be hired and you're the same as somebody else. So that you're never the same as everybody else. A lot of the interviews I've been in, I don't know if there was scoring in the back with these big companies. I didn't have an HR, but they still have to justify through HR because they have rules about why they hire people to make these things. It's just sometimes you may feel that you've given the right justification as to why they're being hired, but somebody just formulated the answer better. People just subconscious, and this is where HR is actually really good at making sure as best they can why this doesn't happen. Sometimes they're just thinking in who's going to be the best fit for the organization, even if the response wasn't the best. They're still thinking in their head, well, I can work better with this person, or I understand.
A gig, you're looking for a short-term contract, long-term contract, you're looking for full-time employment. At this stage, what are you looking for?
Basically, I am looking opportunities, and unfortunately, Upwork is providing some difficulties for freelancers. 2 and 3 years ago, Upwork was provided free connects, but after COVID, or after the time of COVID, changed everything. Every time we need to spend the money and everything.
Okay, so but you didn't answer my question. What are you looking for here in North America, Canada, or the US? You want a project for yourself?
Yes, basically, I want to relocate out of my country.
Relocate. So you want
Relocate.
to, okay.
Relocate.
So you want something like somebody would give you like a job offer or something like that, so that you can apply for a work permit or something like that in that effect, right?
Right.
Because
Basically,
you wanna pass immigration, you wanna come here, but you wanna come here with an offer in hand, sort of like saying to the, let's say, Canadian authority, hey, my skills are required. I was able to get an offer. Please process for me a work permit so that I can go and work for that employer. Something around
right,
that story, right?
right. Basically, 6 months ago, I have applied on the relocate.me website. Is the website for the jobs. I applied in the Japan for in the Tokyo company. Basically, was the fintech company. I have successfully cleared my screening test, but due to merit, the HR was rejected me. Basically, HR was expecting a single person.
Okay, so let me tell you something, because this is way beyond interviews. I don't know, Ahmed, if you're listening the same way I'm listening. This is beyond interview. Like, the question is about interview, but the scope of what you're trying to achieve is far beyond just an interview. My first advice then for that, and let's do something. I'll put you on hold now because Ahmed is probably, twisting in his seat, wants to take the selfie. So we take the selfie first and stay with us for the selfie, and then I'll answer that question for you.
Thank you. Thank you,
Right.
Coach Mo.
Okay? Because it's a bigger story than just answering the question.
Cool, awesome. So if you guys, are comfortable being in camera and you want to be a celebrity for this call, I'll take the selfie in a few seconds. So I'll just put together mood for those who are in camera so that we can take the selfie. So I'll say 1, 2, 3 and smile. Okay, so when you're ready, I'll say 1, 2, 3 and smile. Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody who joined us today. I hope this was useful. I hope this was a good investment of your time. Thank you so much, Coach Mo, Neil, Samer, and Richard, Farouk, for your questions. And we'll now give it back to Coach Mo to continue his answer. Go ahead, Coach Mo.
Okay, the first thing before I answer, I want to again acknowledge Richard for being our role model here in the questions for the interviews, and I wanna say, although we interacted with Richard, but you put yourself in the shoes of Richard and bring onto yourself all what is said was Richard, so that this experience, you're going to experience something similar to what Richard is experiencing. So we're not talking to Richard, we're addressing Richard, yes, but we're talking to everybody on the call. So pull from the Richard situation onto your lives and your interviews as well. Now we'll get back to Farouk. So Farouk, again, listen, if you're all over the place with what you want to achieve, you're likely going to get very less done. So I understand from the sentiment of what you're saying that you are done with Pakistan, you said, okay, and you want to go out of Pakistan, pursue your life somewhere else, which
Yes,
is a
yes.
which is a very legit, and we all did that. I'm an immigrant here in Canada. I did it like a number of years ago, right? So, but I was at each point of time, I was very specific. So, for example, I started by studying in the US and said, okay, I want to stay in the US after I finish my education, get like 4 years of experience, and then go back to my home country, which is Egypt, right? And this is the plan, but the plan, the actual, does not always turn out like the plan. Somebody said, when I was in the US, why don't you apply for immigration in Canada? I said, what's in Canada? They said, it's like the US, but you probably like it more. I didn't know what that meant at that point. So I applied for immigration in Canada. But one was, you're going to stay as a student, process a visa, and maybe you stay permanently, or maybe you go home. The other one was a choice for me to make and say, no, I want to make Canada my home, so I'm going to apply for immigration. And this is a big word, right? You're un you're unplugging your roots from somewhere else, and then you're putting your roots in a new place, hoping that that environment where you put these roots is going to nurture the roots, and you're going to be happy there, right? So I want you first to focus Japan, Canada, US, blah blah blah. Why I'm saying that? Because once you focus, you'll know the lingo of these people, how to address these people. So addressing a Japanese person in a Japanese work culture is different from addressing a Canadian in a Canadian work culture, different from the US and addressing Americans in the American work culture. So first, try to figure out which one you like best. Maybe you like all the three, and that's will get you in confusion, that you might be looping on many things. So even if there are three, ask yourself, which of the three are the dearest to my heart and the best? Which, when I look at life, I want to spend my next 10 years in which of these countries, right? Then you will know, you will have an answer, whether that's Canada, the US, or Japan. That's I'll give you the examples from what you said. Then when you establish, for example, it is Canada. Now, what do the Canadians need? What do they do? How do they speak? What do I need to portray? And I'm going to tell you this: if you're always going to speak about your technical skills and what you have, right, as technical skills, it won't fly. I will refer to this conversation in a reference with what Neil did throughout his life as a salesperson. We don't think ourselves of ourselves as salespeople. We are selling a service to employers. Like when I'm saying I'm IT consultant, I'm selling a consulting service to the employer. Whether that is in a contract or a full time, it's still the same. Now in sales, right? People will tell you one of the many things in sales. There's 3 rules for a customer to buy. They know you, they like you, they trust you. Those 3 pillars. If any of them is broken, good luck with the sale. So for example, then now you're going to go to a Canadian, interact with them in order to do a project for them. You have to let them know you. They have to say something that is going to make them connect with you and like you. And then only when they trust you, they're going to give you a contract. If any of these pillars are broken, you're not going to get a contract. Sorry, right? This is the reality of life. So now we go into conversation saying, I do web development, I do this, I know React, JS, I know Node, I know blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, okay, fine. What difference are you going to make for me? Because you didn't answer this question. You told me
Yes,
what you do
you are
inside
saying
your
right.
body.
I agree with your points.
Right?
Thank
The
you.
problem of the client is very important. Instead of basically you are trying to emphasize on the you focus.
I didn't quite get that, but yeah, if you're meaning like again, it's the transfer or the from my needs and myself to what the other person needs, and how can I bridge that? For example, in my personal pitch, I say that I'm in for the IT roles. I mean, I've been in IT for the last 20 years, and throughout that career, I have developed as an attentive and dependable principal IT consultant. So I gave them my attributes that connect with them. Attentive, I will listen to them. Dependable, they can give me the job and go to sleep and I'll fulfill it for them. So I'm already communicating who I am as a person. Okay. Who,
Okay.
so, and then I said the role, a principal IT consultant. Okay. So far, I haven't bridged it yet. So what do you do as a principal IT consultant? I architect, design, and implement business solutions that take your efficiency as a company to a whole new level, right? And get your users and customers a higher user satisfaction or customer experience. I can say it in different variation. It's not just that. So I am telling my experience, my attributes, my role, the difference I want to make for them. So get me somebody, any employer that when I tell him to take your operation efficiency to the next level, tell me one employer that say, no, thank you. I don't want to take it to the next level. I'm fine where I am. 98% of people will say, I want that. Yes, I want that. Why am I putting systems in my why am I even buying Oracle, or why am I even deploying this system or that system? Why are we all running in IT? Because we want our life, sorry, AI, because we want our life to be more efficient. We want to be more effective. We want to blah, blah, blah. I don't want to do a resume in like, adjustment in 10 hours. I want the AI to do it for me in half an hour. So that's why we deploy technology. So try to find yourself the difference you want to make for people, not that I want to work for you. Yeah, okay, that's fine. I'm not opening, I don't have a charitable organization. I have a business to run, right? In order for me to give you $1, I want you to generate for me $2. Can you do that? If you promise me you're going to generate $2, I will give you the dollar very happy. Very happily. Make sense?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
How
Awesome.
to target the country and skills or other stuff. Can you explain me how to get the calls on the behalf of resume? Basically, main problem is the not getting response on the resume.
I can
Okay.
explain to you and it will take the next 5 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, Farouk, I think, because you're outside of Canada, it's gonna take a lot of work to educate you on the process and what you should do. I think you're first, again, as Coach Mo mentioned, setting the target real clear from the beginning is one of the ways to succeed. So you definitely need to do a homework. You need to research. ChatGPT can help you a lot with your research. Check first your visa eligibility, how you're able to move to a country from a visa perspective, because that's your biggest blocking point right now. Not your experience. Your visa is the biggest blocker for you to move. If you were able to satisfy the visa, and we're not experts here about visa, so we'll not be able to address this question by any chance. I would highly recommend that you research this online, use ChatGPT, or maybe go to an immigration lawyer who have more experience about this to help you with your journey. I apologize, Farouk, if we couldn't really help you much here about what you're trying to achieve. Again, this is not the intent of this call. We are trying to help people who are already in Canada and the US here. So that's why, again, I think this could be a separate discussion, and I hope you understand where we're coming from. Neil,
Let him connect with me on LinkedIn. I'll point him to the right resources, just so that also we don't leave him on a crossroads here. Neil has something maybe that will add to that. But Farouk, any of me or Ahmed or anybody on the call, just connect us for LinkedIn. We're gonna point you into the right direction just for the sake of the time for this call.
My last question is, I want to clear you one thing. Basically, according to the media of Pakistan, a few people, few relatives are moved 2 months ago in the Canada. Basically, visa are available for the Pakistani peoples.
Okay. Again, we don't know
That's
those
good.
details. That's why, again, we cannot, comment on that. So that's your homework to do, Farouk, on your side. We're not experts in visa by any chance. So do your homework and wish you all the best with that. Neil, go ahead, please.
Yeah, look, I'm
All
gonna be
right.
blunt. I'm gonna be blunt right now. Okay, so right now the market's pretty crappy. There's been a ton of developers have been laid off. One of the biggest reasons is the tax situation in the States changed. Went from 100% tax deduction for research and development down to about 20%. So they let tons of people go. So your biggest problem is the fact that employers are going to be looking at, well, why should I hire somebody from overseas when I can hire locally? There's tons of super experienced people around. They understand the culture. They know everybody. They're this and that. There's all sorts of excuses. So that's not just that. And then of course there's been restrictions on immigration, and then the whole process of trying to get here can be a lot more challenging, or any country can be very challenging, as you're finding. One of the ways, though, that I highly suggest you take a look at, and it's a much longer process, is because of the way the market conditions are right now, is look to get into one of the companies locally in Pakistan that have a local office. So whether it's a consulting firm like PwC or Accenture or something like that, and then do an internal transfer at that point. That can be a much simpler way, because then you're sponsored at the same time. And when I was at Microsoft, that's how a lot of people made their move to Canada. They were in India, or they were in South Africa, or Dubai or something like that, and they did the internal transfers. And they said it was a lot easier to do that. So it's a reality of the market right now, where they were hiring like crazy in the early 2020s. That to me was only part of the excuse, but there was lots of other reasons why the market's dropped. And there's just so many people available locally that it can be a really big challenge for anybody overseas. So my advice is to make sure you're trying to go local. And I know you seem like you're in a rush to get out and go do something and get going with your life somewhere else, but this could be probably one of the better routes right now.
Thank you.
But good luck. It's tough. It's tough.
Yeah.
Very tough. And it's a big move.
Yeah.
Huge. I'm not sure
Okay.
I'd do it. So
Yeah, no, I hear you. And again, I agree with you, Neil and Coach Mo. Samer, do you have any final thoughts before maybe we wrap it up today?
Thank you very much, Ahmed. Farouk, are you still with us or you left?
He's
Still
still
there.
there.
I am here.
Okay, so Farouk, look, I would really want to thank you for joining this call, and we would like to create a value for you. Although this call is not really assigned for sales techniques, but I do what I started with. I tried to make it clear for you that you have no choice or chance of getting through HR. HR will definitely screen you out. And that's why you're probably not getting response from HR, because you're not eligible to work in the country and you don't have a security insurance number. So corporation cannot hire you because your hiring will not create a deduction in the corporation costs. So that's the final story. What I really advise you, you might be needing a sales skills and sales techniques and sales funnel. And you mentioned also about the Upwork. I honestly advise you to communicate with Coach Mo. I know Coach Mo is providing sales training and sales funnel techniques, and that's probably something you need to invest your money in. Now you're asking for money, yeah? When you get a work in America or get a contract, you will get a good income. And I advise you to invest some of your money in coaching with Coach Mo. That's something will give you a big return.
Do you have any link? You are mentioning
Yeah, you can
something.
connect with me. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. I have my my LinkedIn profile on there in the chat being here. Thank you.